What's up, guys? George Balekji here with Boston has entered the chat. But hey, check out the latest episode of Foxborough Rush. Sean McGuire and myself, we go through our own mock draft 3.0 right off free agency with a better picture of what the Patriots roster looks like. We got that wherever you get your podcast for Foxborough Rush. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, new episodes dropping, but check out the latest mock. Also watch it on YouTube as well. That's Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcasts. All right. Let's get into it. Boston has entered the chat. What's up, guys? George Balekji here with Sean McGuire. Sean, how we doing, my man?
I'm good, George. It's a little gloomy today, though.
It sucks. The weather stinks.
Yeah.
It's a lot of rain.
All
it's
right,
a lot
fair.
of cold. It's not what you expect. Yeah, you could be straight up with it. It's not the best. It's New England, man.
blunt.
It's March. It's March in New England. You know, you, Dan Hurley, hand in hand, just complaining about everything. That's how you guys roll, the Yukon peeps.
Straight champs.
As it goes, hey, we got a packed show for you guys today. We're going to talk about the Red Sox opening day lineup, roster, what it's looking like. They have 2 games left in Mexico, but once that is done, Thursday night is opening day. They'll be taking on the Texas Rangers in Arlington. We also go through, as always, what's trending. We'll talk a little March Madness and the lack of Cinderellas we've seen in this tournament. Maybe a driver change happening for Red Bull before the Japanese Grand Prix. You always know I love to talk F1. And Elliot Wolf saying we're going with best available over biggest team needs when they still have a lot of team needs. And Boston College held their pro day on Monday. Big attendance from the NFL, massive attendance from the Patriots as well. We'll have some sound from Bill O'Brien on that, talking about Donovan Ezra-Okwu, talking about Mike Vrabel, and then some notes from the pro day as well. So let's get right into it, Sean. Let's start with the Red Sox opening day lineup. So, cool article Chris Cotillo from Mass Live put out, but as it's just a few days away, opening day will be Thursday against the Texas Rangers. There was a look of the starting rotation, what the starting lineup can be. Kristian Campbell, the reports that he has been named to the opening day roster for the Red Sox. That most likely points to him playing second base and Rafael Devers hitting in the DH spot. What are you thinking when you look at, there's also the excitement of this Red Sox season, but as we're looking at what an opening day roster can be, what are you thinking there?
I mean, it looks more exciting, I think, this year than last year and, past years at this point. I think one of the biggest takeaways has to be what you said about it's pretty clear, I think, that Rafael Devers is going to be hitting DH. Seems like, Campbell's going to be second. Then you got Alex Bregman at third, Trevor Story at short. So it seems like that's kind of shaken out. And I think definitely one of the bigger takeaways, which I'm sure we'll get into, is just the prospects in general, where Kristian Campbell's going. It seems like we kind of know where Marcelo Mayer and Roman Anthony are going as well. I would say that's pretty much the big takeaway right there.
Yeah, the big news is for Kristian Campbell potentially being on that opening day roster. It's reported, and it makes sense because that's a guy that is their top prospect. That is the guy that what makes the most sense too with if he's performing well and you can project him as a second baseman, what it does for the Red Sox defensively on that infield, that is a big area of need. And if he drops in a way seamlessly, like everyone's wondering, well, Roman Anthony, Marcelo Mayer, those guys are optioned at AAA Worcester to start this season as well. Roman Anthony, so much power with his bat. Everyone's seen that mammoth home run he's hit this past spring training, but to leave spring training with just one home run, still needs to work on his ability to catch up to breaking balls, especially at the MLB level. Kristian Campbell, that swing's ready, and the batting average doesn't look the best out of spring, but he started out terribly, like 0 for to start, and then recovered when he got his swing timing and his decision-making down. And the same thing with Marcelo Mayer. So if Roman Anthony comes up, where's he going to play? It's going to be the outfield. Would that be Willie Abreu? Would that be where Ceddanne Rafaela is? Because you do not take away Jarren Duran from this lineup every day and defensively from this team every day. Then the same thing with Marcelo Mayer. It's where would he go? This is a kid that's big enough, just 22 years old. Obviously, he's coming up as a shortstop, but could profile to play third base as well and has the athleticism to basically play that whole left side of the infield. My thing before we even get to the lineup, the rotation at the top, you like how it looks. Garrett Crochet, Tanner Houck, Walker Buehler. There is understanding that this rotation is starting with Brian Bayo, Cutter Crawford, Lucas Giolito, all going to be banged up. Patrick Sandoval, as a relief pitcher, will start banged up as well with all of this. So it's relief pitchers and starting pitchers that they're not at 100%. So when the starting rotation looks like it's going to be Garrett Crochet is going to be the ace. I think Tanner Houck is most likely that number 2. Walker Buehler, that third starter, which is important. He's a vet. A lot of experience. He's just about to be 31 years old at some point during the season, so he's not even 31 yet. Then the last two, it could be Richard Fitz, who we've seen make appearances with the Sox before. It could be Sean Newcomb, who's been in MLB for quite some time. Or it could be a Cooper Criswell. I think for the Sox to start out the season, it is who are the top three starting pitchers. Garrett Crochet, give him the full workload, let him go. Let that Moose get to work. Let him get to 200 innings pitch plus, whatever he feels comfortable with. But when it comes to Fitz, Newcomb, Cooper Criswell, whoever that may be, and then eventually when Bayo is ready to return, when a Cutter Crawford's ready to return, the bottom two pieces in that starting rotation, those are the ones that are going to be more versatile. You got to be more flexible with. I'm excited about the lineup. I just wanted to start with the starting pitching and all this because they have the ace. They have Tanner Houck coming off his first All-Star appearance. They have the vet and Walker Buehler. This rotation is so vastly improved than what it was last year, Sean.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a good thing because I mean their depth is going to be tested pretty much right off the jump. I think with some of these injuries, and you're kind of you're trying to get through at least one or two spots in the rotation, and then kind of see where the injuries take you from there. It seems like Brian Bayo could be elevated pretty soon. I know Cutter Crawford is probably about a month. He'll probably miss the first month. But yeah, and just to your point about Sean Newcomb specifically, it sounds like he's probably going to be the fifth starter. Alex Cora came out just the other day over the weekend and really, praised Newcomb. Middleborough High grad Sean Newcomb, like our own Greg Dudek, which I'm sure he'll appreciate that plug.
South Shore, shout out.
Yeah, that's right. But Cora really talked about, what an outstanding spring Sean Newcomb had, and adding the cutter and all this sort of stuff. So it sounds like he's going to be, that fifth spot. But again, Lucas Giolito, Brian Bayo, those guys probably aren't too far away. So if you get one or two turns through the rotation, one of those guys could kind of elevate, and then, you're looking at a different transaction and a different starting cast, I guess.
Yeah, just with Newcomb, it's can you get 50 innings pitched out of him? Like, I think that's what the ask is, because that's what he's been. When he first got into the majors, he broke in with the Braves. That's when he was in 160 inning pitcher. He's not that guy anymore. But if you can get 50, and it could be 30 right now to start the season, like you said, 2, 3, maybe 4 goes to the rotation where every time he gets a start, can he go 5, 6 innings pitched, and you give it to your bullpen that's deeper and you've invested in, like that's what would be crucial for him at that point. And then when a Bayo comes back, how does that help? And do you keep him up, or do you option him down to AAA? And the same thing when Cutter Crawford gets back. Crawford's battling the knee. Bayo's battling some inflammation. So that's stuff you want to make sure you get right with your pitchers. And overall, you just want this starting rotation to at least get you out of the first 2-3 months of before the Bayos and the Cutter Crawford's return. And just think of the guys like a Garrett Whitlock that's a long-term out-getter. He's more than a bullpen guy. He's more than a closer. He could go multiple innings. He can give you a lot of work, and that's what's important with how banged up all the pitching is for the Red Sox already. Looking at the lineup, so with Kristian Campbell slotted and reportedly given the green light, will be on the opening day roster. It's also big for him. If he wins Rookie of the Year, then the Red Sox in return get a draft pick. That's the new rule by MLB. Opening day roster, end up winning Rookie of the Year. Teams are rewarded so they don't mess around with these guys' service time as much and keep them down and try to keep them in arbitration, team control as much. Campbell, let's start with him. If he starts at second, that means Devers is going to be a DH most likely. It's also where he slots into this lineup. He could be in that 6th spot, which I think is great. If he can be around a 750, 800 OPS over the course of the season, 15 home runs, and he's good on the base path, really good athlete, really fast and defensively what he brings, but he's in that 6th spot where maybe it is Wilyer Abreu hitting right after him. Maybe it's Trevor Story hitting right after him. But the bottom of the lineup is so much better where it can be a Campbell, Abreu, Wong, and then a Cedane Rafaela in the 9th spot, setting up the leadoff hitter and Jarren Duran again.
Yeah, and you also kind of take some of the pressure off him, in that sort of, bottom of the lineup sort of spot. So I think that makes a lot of sense as well. I mean, but you look at the top of the order and it's pretty loaded. I mean, you're going to start with Jarren Duran, Devers, Story, obviously Bregman up there, Cassis. I mean, that's pick your poison, I guess, in that top 5, or pick your lineup in that top 5. But those are going to be the top 5 hitters. And then you get to Kristian Campbell and the other guys that you mentioned. So it's definitely a much better lineup than we've seen in recent years. And I think some of that kind of showed. I know there was a little bit of like an opening day teaser last week in a spring training game where you kind of saw that what was thought to be an opening day lineup. And just over the course of the spring, I think it was a much better spring. They were playing much better baseball, I think, than what we've seen the last few years. So definitely exciting, and it does start with Campbell for sure.
Yeah, if Jarren Duran's leading off again, you get he took such a massive leap that I think the expectations, if you get the Jarren Duran you had last season every year, you're in a great spot as your leadoff hitter, as a great defender, as a 5-tool guy, a guy that was impacting in every facet of baseball and every facet of the game, having a massive impact on the game for the Red Sox. They will take that. If he comes back with a 20-30 season, or maybe improves on the home runs by a few, 25 home runs, 30-plus stolen bags, and between Duran, Devers, Bregman hitting top 3 in this lineup, if you get 75 to 80 home runs combined between the three of them, the threat of Jarren Duran on the base path, Rafael Devers following him up as a DH, and maybe if him playing less defense is less wear and tear, he's more healthy, and he's just not just in the lineup every day. He's been available, but he's not dealing with as much lingering issues or injuries, shoulder, forearm, knee. If he's not dealing with that, he's a better hitter, and then you have the Bregman Casas to follow. That's what's exciting about the potential of this lineup, and that's where you get to the 5 spot where it's, all right, it could be a Trevor Story. That's great. That's a veteran hitter. Then you get to the 6 spot. Yeah. Kristian Campbell, phenomenal at hitting line drives, such a strong swing, really smart in the box as well, and again, a really good athlete on the base path. That's what gets exciting. You look at the defense projections, what it could be for the Red Sox, but overall too, I mean, the offense did well last year. They needed a lift when it came to pitching, especially in the bullpen, but the defense was lackluster. If you get Campbell in that, and the defense just improves to be good, middle of the pack in MLB, or let's say top 12 at least, because they were one of the worst defensive teams in Major League Baseball last year, that's where the wins are going to come from. This was an 81-81 team the last 2 years, Sean. Looking at what this opening day lineup, opening day roster can be is exciting because they got better defensively. They got better in the lineup as well. They got much deeper in the lineup. And when the pitchers are healthy, this is everything coming together.
Yeah, and you have those prospects, right? I mean, and you have
Roman Anthony and
Marcelo Mayer. I mean, and it probably won't be, they're probably not going to be in AAA in the summer. Is that fair to say? I mean, you could see an early July sort of call up for those guys. So, and with that said, I think I don't know how you feel about it, but I think it makes a lot of sense, for them to start in AAA. I mean, Marcelo Mayer hasn't even played a game in AAA yet. Obviously elevated last August with the other two, but with injuries and all that sort of thing, his last 2 seasons actually shortened due to injury. So I think it makes a lot of sense to have him start in AAA. And we talked about it a little bit earlier too. I mean, Roman Anthony, the outfield's kind of full. They got some outfielders out there, so it wouldn't make sense to bring him up. I feel like if he's not going to be playing every day. So now you have him in Worcester, he's playing every day, and it just makes a lot more sense with that. So I think, with the major league team right now, and then, with the minor league prospects kind of coming up, one of them seems like it's going to be on the opening day roster, and the other 2 probably aren't too far behind. There definitely is a lot of excitement right now.
Yeah, what I'm excited to see, and I think it's a great point you make for Myers, never played in AAA. And he had a good spring, as of Roman Anthony again, but they're just catching up and working on themselves as hitters in the box. Yeah, and just what this could be too of, okay, well, they could be the guys at the backups. I mean, they're going to go with Carlos Navarez and also Rob Refsnyder. I mean, a utility guy and a backup catcher, that's needed. David Hamilton's likely that backup second baseman, where if Trevor Story needs a day off, does Bregman go to short? If Bregman needs a day off, you have Devers playing third. What do you do with Kristian Campbell? Do you move him to the outfield? And do you have Ceddanne Rafaela come up to short again in the Story taking the day off type of scenario? And then you put David Hamilton at second. Those are the possibilities, along with Alex Bregman, of course, being a second baseman or a third baseman himself and just a good athlete. But that's where you look at what the backups could be. And then eventually it could be that Marcelo Mayer for the same reason of, okay, does Story need a day off? Keep Ceddanne Rafaela in the outfield. Keep Kristian Campbell at second, and it's simply Marcelo Mayer getting his reps and everything at shortstop. And that can be in a scenario, too, where that would be Trevor Story being a DH for a day, just to give him a day off. That's a big thing, too, and why it matters, and it's important for them to start in AAA, get their confidence up, get their bat up to speed. Because as we talk about this lineup, and I love it, Rafael Devers, injury question marks. Trevor Story, injury, question marks. Tristan Casas, injury, question marks as well. Ceddanne Rafaela, you need to see his bat take a leap. Really good defender, but was whiffing way too much, chasing outside of the zone. So many first pitch swing and misses we saw in his first full season at the MLB level. That's where the depth of what they have helps them a lot as well, and why these guys need to keep developing in the lower levels and in the minors before they come up to the major league level. So as we take a look at all that, we also got to talk bullpen. I mean, Aroldis Chapman now in the fold, Liam Hendriks. You hope he could be back. Of course, hasn't pitched since 2023, was coming back from getting cancer treatment as well, had setbacks in his first season with the Red Sox. There's Garrett Whitlock. If he can stay healthy, is so good in the bullpen. I think that's where he should be as well. Brendan Bernardino, how effective can he be? Patrick Sandoval can come in and be a good lefty as well. The bullpen's a question mark. I think they still need to add, but it's a deep bullpen. We'll see who emerges as a closer. I'm not 100% sold it'd be an Aroldis Chapman at this point in his career at 37 years old, that's a guy night in, night out you'd have as a closer.
Yeah, and it was kind of, but I do think it's worth pointing out. I mean, Alex Cora has really praised Chapman quite a bit over these last 6 weeks or whatever it is. And, just talking about his velocity and his can't miss stuff and all that. So it does seem like both with Cora's comments on Chapman as well as Liam Hendriks didn't have a great spring, I guess, with a lot of command stuff. It does kind of seem like Chapman is certainly going to start as that closer, but who knows? I mean, in late March or whatever, early April's closer might not be the same thing as, late July. So that could always change. But yeah, I do. And to your point about like the injuries and everything, I think that's certainly worth pointing out here while we are talking about the bullpen, just because I think Red Sox fans should expect to see some transactions as it relates to the bullpen. I mean, Cora's been pretty upfront with how he kind of wants to essentially have the option to mix and match, based on who's performing well at the time or who's seeing a lot of innings at the time, and kind of make some transactions, to get guys who maybe aren't performing as well, or maybe, their arms are tired, that sort of thing. So I certainly think we can expect to see some transactions when it comes to that. But yeah, and I also think it comes down to, I mean, one of the biggest questions is just, do they want Cooper Criswell to kind of almost be like a Garrett Whitlock sort of thing and eat up multiple innings? Do they want that, or do they want another lefty? So I think that's one of the bigger questions as it relates to the bullpen, their opening day roster as well.
Yeah, with Cooper Criswell, I just think what he can do and what he can add as well is that 99 innings pitched last season, right around a 4 ERA. And if that's a guy, I think where he would be more important would be in that rotation type role. And maybe it's a flexibility. Yeah. What's tough with, especially with pitching, the type of preparation it goes into if you're a starter or a relief pitcher, the workload, the recovery after, how quick the turnaround is. I think they just have to pick the lane. Like what I like that they're putting Garrett Whitlock back in the bullpen. Pick the lane with him. Really good pitcher. Tried him as a starter. Saw the flashes. Season long, just could not be healthy. Could not stay healthy. Put him back in the bullpen. It's just some guys are meant to be. And if it gets to that point where if you have a Cooper Criswell, that's the starter, and then you pair him up with a guy that can be a long-term out-getter out of the pen, then that works. Or maybe it's the opposite with the Cooper Criswell. It's figuring it out, but I think it's like sticking to a strategy and a plan. And what's important too, Chapman's velocity on his fastball was still there last season, but between him and Liam Hendriks, those are two guys that have had saves, have been the closers in the past. So mentally, it's two guys you have that can be that late game, shut the door on the opponent, get the save for your team, and close out a game. So there's a lot of flexibility. And with 162 games and what it is, as we're even talking like defensively, what they can look like in the rotation, how it'd be, and now with the bullpen, there is, and you said it basically, it's whoever the closer is, whatever the rotation is in March, it won't be the same one in August and September. Yep. Guys are going to get banged up. It's a really long season, and people will step up, and the Red Sox certainly should add as well. So that's what this is all evolving into. So if it's Chapman now, but then it's Hendriks at the end, or the reverse, end of the day, if they're getting wins and they're back in the playoffs, again, back in the playoffs, first time since 2021, that's the end goal in all of this.
Yeah, and I mean, you were talking about Chapman last year. I mean, he was in triple digits routinely, this spring. I mean, so it's certainly, the velocity is certainly still there. And as I mentioned, I mean, just Cora's comments on him, and it does seem like if Cora was to pick, his closer today, and he's not going to do that. I'm sure he'll do that on Thursday, and we can all kind of take it for what it is on Thursday. But when he does that, I expect it to be Chapman, and we'll see if it stays like that. But certainly to start the year, that's what I would expect.
I'm just excited, man. I mean, they open the season at Texas, then they have the Orioles, and then they opening up at home a Friday, April 4th. Red Sox back in Fenway with how deep this lineup is, and we saw the flashes of how good the team is. But a guy like Garrett Crochet changes the whole complexity of the team and what their projection can be as well, and what the potential is, where you have a starter like that. And then what you have with how they added Alex Bregman, where he slots into this lineup, and for him to be the leader in the clubhouse, it surely is needed. That this is a team, if they can stay healthy, if they can get consistency out of first base and have Tristan Casas improve defensively, if they could get consistency out of their defense all around, consistency out of the bottom of their lineup, and just if Garrett Crochet, Tanner Houck, and whoever would be in top three in the rotation, if it is a Walker Buehler or maybe a Brian Bayo steps up or a Cutter Crawford, if it all can be consistent, and guys are going to get banged up, but as long as they get to August, September, it's meaningful baseball and they put themselves in a position to make the postseason, and then from there take that next step forward. This is a team that the timing is right with Jarren Duran, how great he was last year. All right, build upon that, keep getting better. And just be the same guy, too. There's less pressure on him as well when a Bregman comes in. That if Jarren Duran's the same Jarren Duran of last season, if he's the same exact player, that's fine. When you have Bregman later on in the lineup, deeper in that lineup as well, hitting in the 3 or the 4 spot, it opens up so many things for everyone else at the lineup. This is a Red Sox team that just got vastly different, and going through all the possibilities they have on their lineup, their rotation, the roster overall, it's exciting. And Sean, like you mentioned, on what the call-ups can be, because in the summer, Mayer, Anthony, likely not to be in Worcester, which I love, because in the summertime, those can be more meaningful games. And those are guys, if they're ready, and they get that experience of meaningful games in those push into the postseason, that helps this season and down the road as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And I just think kind of the fireworks that might come with, those July fireworks, I guess, if we're talking about it. I could definitely see it coming. Question for you. So I just looked it up. Their win total, 86.5.
I'd go over. I'm going over on that. This is a 90. This is a 90-win team. They've been 81-81 with one of the worst defenses in all of baseball, with no semblance of a consistent starting rotation, with no ace. Like, Garrett Crochet is a Cy Young candidate ace. He's not just an ace because he's in Boston. No. There are 29 other teams that would kill to have them in the rotation. It's a guy that can win a Cy Young. So you have an actual rotation. Your defense is improved with Alex Bregman. You have an actual leader in the clubhouse, a guy that's won multiple times, been to World Series, ALCS is everything, and been around other winners too, and a guy that is an extension of Alex Cora now in that clubhouse as well, and just how deep this lineup is too. That's why 86.5, I would take the over on that. I took it well before. Once Bregman was signed, I took the future on it. Like the injuries to a Gunnar Henderson, it doesn't sound like it's going to be that long term, but the injuries that the Yankees are dealing with, if Gunnar Henderson is banged up, the Orioles, the rotation got worse. The division's wide open. The American League, to me, I don't know who's going to run away with it. And to me, this is a Red Sox team where it would be a Cinderella story. It would be overachieving in the best way possible. But like the American League is open and they have the framework there. Can they stay healthy? You can say that with every team, but that is a real concern with this Red Sox team. So to answer your question, I'll take 87 wins or more for this Red Sox team, but I think it's more than regular season wins I'm looking at. Possible division crown and a run. You get into the postseason, anything happens, a possible run into the American League as well.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I'm going over 87. I think 90 is probably accurate. 90, 91 wins. I think that's fair. And, as you said, injuries will play a part of it. Definitely will be interesting to see if Trevor Story can make it a full season, how Devers heals up and if he can make it a full season, all that sort of stuff. But I agree, just looking on paper right now, the improvements that they made, especially to the pitching staff, I think it is like a legitimate staff at this point. I could definitely see it soaring over 87 wins.
Red Sox, couple games in Mexico, open up at the Rangers, at Baltimore, and then their home opener April 4th against the Cardinals, 2:10 first pitch. That'll be a fun one. Cardinals, Blue Jays, first 2 series of the season at home in Fenway. April 4th, Sean. If we get this gloomy weather out of the way, if you give me 55 and sunny, low wind on April 4th, a nice cold bev in my hand too, I'm all for it, man. Like Fenway, the biggest beer garden in the city right there, man. I'm all for it.
That's right.
Hey, if you want to watch the Sox season, make sure to stream it on NESN 360 with the new annual plan available at an all-new reduced price of just $20 a month paid annually. And for a limited time, get 4 free tickets to Fenway with your purchase. Visit NESN360.com to sign up today. All right, Sean, we'll get into what's trending. You guys know it, 3 topics. We got 3 minutes per topic as well. Let's start with the first one. The SEC, after getting 14 teams in the Big Dance, have 7 in the Sweet 16. The most teams from a single conference in the Sweet 16 in the history of the tournament. You see the tweet on your screen from our guy, John Fanta, friend of the program. Auburn, Florida, both 1 seeds. Arkansas, who upset Kansas out of the Big 12. Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, by the way, upset Iowa State, who's one of the best teams out of the Big 12 and a 3 seed as well. The SEC has been the best conference in college basketball all season long. Even Arkansas, they started out 0-5 in SEC play, and everyone was wondering if they're going to make it. They won 12 of their next 17. What happens with this, though, is the SEC got in. That's the best conference. Everyone's upset that there weren't the same amount of Cinderellas. There wasn't the madness you normally get with March. Drake beat Missouri. That was another SEC team. That was an 11-6 upset. Then Texas Tech beat Drake. There were, Memphis getting upset by Colorado State. Then Colorado State was beat by Maryland. There was the excitement, but you don't see those Cinderella runs like we've seen in FAU, an FGCU, St. Peter's, right? A Wichita State, you'd have to go a while back for that one. Or even like a UCLA 11 seed making a run. But that's what everyone's saying of, okay, they got in, cool, but where's the madness? What do you think? Because a lot of people are saying, and it makes sense to a point, NIL has ruined college basketball in a way of these kids that are really good. They're more incentivized to just leave, like prove themselves at the lower level and go because they get paid. And we see college basketball now, instead of the one and done freshmen, you need second, third year players. But again, you're paying them legally. So we're seeing more teams in the Power 5, Power 4 conferences do it.
Yeah, well, I've long said that the SEC is a basketball conference, so I'm just glad to see it. No, actually, I feel the complete opposite. As a Big East guy, as I'm talking to another Big East guy I know, so I think it's a little bit of a bummer. And I think, I also saw a stat that it's the first time, it's the first tournament since 2007, where there's no teams seeded after 11 make the Sweet 16, and hopefully, there is a little bit of madness left, in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, Final Four, that sort of thing. But it does feel pretty chalky this year. And the SEC has a lot of chalky teams. I mean, 2 number 1 seeds in Auburn and Florida, 2 number 2 seeds in Tennessee and Alabama, a number 3 seed in Kentucky. So, I mean, there's a legitimate chance that we get an all SEC Final Four with Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, and Bama. And I think that wouldn't be great for someone like me, who, again, a Big East guy through and through. But the fact of the matter is, and you also hinted on this, it's not just a tournament. I mean, the SEC was dominant in November and December, and if you watch the tournament, the SEC tournament, the last few weeks, I mean, Tennessee and Auburn and Florida and all those programs, I mean, they're legit, and that was an exciting tournament. So certainly not totally surprised to see the SEC have such success, but I would agree that the chalkiness is a little bit of a bummer.
It is a bummer. You want to see the NC States of last year with DJ Burns, an 11 seed making that Final Four run. You want to see the things like that. With NIL, I don't think it's completely killed it. It's still a single elimination tournament. It's the best tournament in sports because of the madness you still get. BYU just upset Wisconsin, a 6-3 upset, and the Big Ten was the second best conference in all of basketball. McNeese State upset Clemson out of the ACC. It's just how it used to be back in the day, where it would be these players getting paid under the table, like in a Happy Meal bag. Now they get actual McDonald's sponsorships because the money is clean, because it's up front, and what was illegal and been happening ever since college sports was around is now just basically legal. Yes, that's what it's going to change. The lower level schools, they need time to catch up. The Power 5s, the Power 4s now, we're always ahead. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to take some time when these lower level schools build up their NIL budgets. And then when they get to that point, they can retain guys. But it'll take a little while. All right, Sean, we're going to talk some F1. You excited for this one, my man? Okay, we'll get right into it then. So Red Bull, Red Bull. One of the top teams in Formula One. They've won 4 straight driver championships. They were the most dominant team for some time, but They've had a lot of turmoil and changeover with their number 2 driver. There are reports coming out of ESPN and as you see Sky Sports as well. They're considering to replace driver Liam Lawson with Yuki Tsunoda after just 2 races into this season. The Japanese Grand Prix is next. So Liam Lawson was crowned to be the number 2 driver for Red Bull outside of Max Verstappen, who is the best driver in F1 right now. And that was a head scratcher because he had less than 11 career races under his belt. And in the 2 races that he's had, he did not finish in the Australian Grand Prix, then finished 12th in China, really 15th, but then the 3 DQs. What the options they have is the other guy, Yuki Tsunoda. He finished 12th and 16th, but he's driving a inferior car better than what Liam Lawson is because when it comes to qualifying, I'm not trying to get too much in the minutia, but Yuki Tsunoda is showing better handling of a car and driving, where what's happening to him, though, when it gets to the race, VCarb, who he races for, which is Red Bull's Tier 2 team, they don't have good tactical decision-making, and that's what's screwing over Yuki Tsunoda. The reports are coming out. This will be his 5th full season. I'm not shocked. I think you should give a Liam Lawson more time to drive that Red Bull car, but it sounds like Red Bull, they don't want to waste away possibly losing another Constructors' Championship where they're in there right now solely because of Max Verstappen.
I think my question for you, and because you're much more familiar with it than I am, is it does feel like a quick trigger. Is it normal, I guess, in F1 like this to kind of pull someone after just 2 races?
2 races, no. Mid-season, yes. Yeah. With this Red Bull team, though, and the guy that leads it, Helmut Marko, he is one of the most impatient human beings, one of the most trigger-happy human beings. And this is also a Red Bull team where they have the best driver in Max Verstappen, and the way he's driving a bad car right now is just not working, but he's performing so well. The fact that he has been top 4 the first 2 races of the season, that if they get someone that can just be okay and get points, finish top 10 in racing, then it'll keep them afloat in the race. And just, they need to be in contention because McLaren, the best team, if they mess up, Max Verstappen's so good he could take it from them. The issue is, and we've heard the interviews come out, Verstappen, the way he likes his car and how F1 teams do, they literally craft the car and make changes to it around their number 1 driver. And Max Verstappen likes it to be really front heavy, all the touch, and a light back. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but imagine you're playing a video game and your buddy likes his sensitivity all the way to the roof. Like you move the mouse a little and it goes to the right. That's how he basically wants a car. Liam Lawson isn't adapting to that right now. Maybe Yuki Tsunoda can do it. But the tough thing is that the car that Yuki Tsunoda is driving right now is not like the car he'd be driving with Red Bull. And with Liam Lawson, the last race weekend they had, it was a sprint, so they didn't have practice rounds they normally do. He's had less time to learn and adapt to this car. So he's not racing well. His pace isn't there. I think 2 races is quick, but the quotes we're getting out of Red Bull, like for Christian Horner, their team principal, saying we're going to take away the info and have a look at it after being asked, so you're not gonna take away Lawson, you're not gonna swap him out for Yuki, and he doesn't say no. That shows that there's red flags rising all around Red Bull. But yeah, Sean, good question, man. You check out
Red and Red,
dude. Sunday morning races start at like 9-10 a.m. They're over in an hour and a half. You still have the rest of your day. It's a nice change up from like NFL dominates your day from 1 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. So just saying, give it a go.
It's a quick sport you can get behind.
Exactly. All right, trending topic 3. Elliot Wolf states the Patriots will be drafting, quote, best player available in April. This was interesting. He spoke with Karen Garigian of Mass Live, and the full quote from Elliot Wolf was, "We don't feel compelled to draft for need. The best player available is going to be the way it is. Maybe we went for a need a little bit too much last year. Obviously, that culminated in us drafting Drake May, so it wasn't all that bad. But just moving forward, it's taking the best player and understanding that we filled a lot of needs already in free agency." Filled a lot of needs already in free agency. That's interesting, Sean. All right, so you need to improve your pass rush, and you got that with Milton Williams. You needed a second corner. You got that with Carlton Davis. You needed to improve on your run defense and on the edge. You got that with Harold Landry, who is older. You still need a left tackle, a left guard, a right tackle for the future, a wide receiver 1, a wide receiver 2. You still need a running back. You still need a center. That's 7 different positions I just named that they need. So if you just go best available and it's going to be an edge rusher and a corner, what are you going to have? 4 really good corners and 4 really good edge rushers, but no left tackle? That's I don't like that.
No, I completely agree. And I hope it's gamesmanship at this point of the offseason. I hope it doesn't. I hope he's saying one thing and he's really not meaning it, and there's some bluffing going on, I guess is kind of the best way to put it. I hope Elliott Wolf is bluffing, because exactly what you just said. I mean, if you can't draft, and I also think, I digress quickly, is if the best player available is Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter at 4, as we talked about time and time again, I think you go for those guys.
Yep.
But if those guys aren't available, and you have, number 4 to number 10 all in the same range, I don't think it makes sense to go with a player at a position of lesser need. So in this case, in the case I'm mentioning, it would be that left tackle, and I think you have to do that. I think especially actually if you draft Abdul Carter at 4, I think you have to draft for need in rounds 2 and 3, whether that be offensive tackle, wide receiver, one of those positions, it has to be drafted in the second round, one in the third, in my opinion. So again, I hope there's a little bit of bluffing going on, because if you actually do feel like this, you're going to get you're going to get after the draft, and the roster is going to be loaded at certain positions and void of talent at others. And we've seen that over the last few years, and it's not a feasible way to go into the season. So I hope that's actually, like I said, I hope it's just a little bit of a bluff.
Because imagine if they go best available, and let's say Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter off the board, and they're picking at 4.
Yep.
And the highest ranking, the best available prospect is Ashton Ginty. They're not taking that.
Exactly.
That's what it is when everything comes through. It's lying season as much as it is draft season. And he's putting out, we're going to take the best available. Because if the best available, and you think of position value too, is a Shedeur Sanders, that means, hey, we're not going to take they're trying to say in a way, we won't pass on them at 4, which they would never do. But it's also for the teams that maybe want a Will Johnson, a Mason Graham, a Ted McMillan. You need to address need. Now, you're right, though. I mean, Abdul Carter's a need, and he's a blue chip. Travis Hunter would be a wide receiver for you, and that's a need, and he's a blue chip. But outside of those two guys, if they're not available, then it is your best left tackle. That's how it has to go. Like left tackle, and then they go defensive line later. If it's Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, that's the only way they wait on left tackle till late in the first or maybe in the second round. You want to hear that type of strategy, like maybe Abdul Carter going 4th? Hey, check out the latest mock draft. Sean and I put it together. Mock Draft 3.0, up wherever you get your podcast for Foxborough Rush. Just type in Foxborough Rush. Mock Draft 3.0 is up. Wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, wherever you watch them as well, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. That's Foxborough Rush. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, wherever you get your podcast. All things Patriots, all things off-season, all things NFL. Foxborough Rush. All right, Sean.
What plug that was, George.
I know, right? It was kind of perfect. Shout out our producer, Ethan, putting that all together, too. So talking possible prospects, Boston College held their pro day on Monday. Went to it. Great time. Awesome field house. They have beautiful facilities. All 32 teams in attendance. And Mike Vrabel, along with 10 Patriots staffers in attendance as well.
Okay.
Now, Mike Vrabel and Bill O'Brien, very close friends. So, of course, Mike Vrabel is going to show that support. The Boston College Eagles also have Donovan Ezerokwu, where if he fell to them in the second, you would take him. That's the best available at that point. Say if they go tackle. And if they don't, and even if they do go left tackle, and Ozzie Trapillo, their offensive lineman, 6'8", 320, huge human. Right tackle, started the last 2 years, would make sense. Or Drew Kendall, an interior offensive lineman, along with a bunch of other guys they had work out. It was important for the Patriots to be there. It was important for Mike Vrabel to be there. That's support for BC. And it's Vrabel wise, too. Like, just took the job. Go see these guys up close. It's literally down the road with 3.
Down the road.
Especially with Ezerokwu and Trapillo and Cam Horsley as well. The 3-4 highly regarded prospects. Go do it. It was exciting to see, and you just can't overlook that BC has good prospects, and it's all in areas of need for the Patriots.
So who were some of those coaches there?
What I saw was Doug Marrone, of course, former BC offensive line coach, now Patriots offensive line coach. Elliott Wolf was there. Vinny DePalma, now a defensive assistant, played linebacker at Boston College, was there as well. Those were the guys I can eye and locate. And it's all overall like 10 Patriot staffers. So it could be strength and conditioning coaches. I believe their strength and conditioning coach was there. It could be front office or scouts, personnel people as well. So I don't have their entire, headshot repertoire like in the back of my head, but the guys that I noticed. Here was Bill O'Brien talking about Mike Vrabel visiting and speaking to his team the morning of their pro day as well.
Yeah, it's a special opportunity to have someone like Mike come in and speak to the team. We've had some great speakers over the last year. We've had Julian Edelman spoke to our team, Matt Ryan spoke to our team, and today Mike did. And he just gave his message of what it means to be a good teammate, what toughness is all about on the field, but also mental toughness off the field. How you carry yourself off the field, being loyal to the program, being loyal to what the mission is. He covered all those things, and I really appreciate him doing it.
So that was Bill O'Brien talking about Mike Vrabel's message to the team and how important it is for them as leaders, as people, and then also showing up on their pro day too. Bill O'Brien even talking about his guys like Ozzie Trapillo and Drew Kendall. I asked him about that. What are you hearing from teams that they like about him, but also what are you pushing of like, these are why these are guys that should be drafted. Smart guys, high IQ, especially one with your offensive lineman, always available, always durable. And you think of a guy like an Ozzie Trapillo, he's in his career over 600 snaps at left tackle, 1,400 snaps at right tackle, been starting since he was a sophomore. Drew Kendall, 3-year starter at center. Those are two guys that the Patriots should be watching intently. They also have the flexibility. What I see in a Ozzie Trapillo, 6'8", 320, played both sides, only allowed 5 sacks as a left tackle as well. But he's a guy that was explosive, 177 10-yard shuttle, so that means he can get out and move, almost a 9-foot broad jump as well. If he's a guy that comes in, and we did it in our mock of this can be a guy that learns behind a Morgan Moses, could be that backup left tackle for someone like an Arante Ursary or maybe an Armand Membu or a Will Campbell or Calvin Banks. And then eventually he would be on that full-on starter. He could be that depth piece swing tackle. He's played both sides. And I can't say enough, 6'8", 320, he has the frame, he has the strength, really good footwork as well to mirror edge rushers, high IQ, and a 3-year starter at Boston College who always had a good offensive line. Like that says a lot about Ozzie Trapillo.
Yeah, 24 starts his last 2 seasons, 12 in each in 2023 and 2024. So a lot of experience at BC, like you said. And I think if we were to rank the BC Eagles most likely to land with the Patriots, I think I would have Ozzie Trapillo as number one for me. And it's the need that the Patriots have. It's the connection. We've talked extensively about the Doug Marrone thing, and not that that's the only reason or anything, but when you get into that, probably a 4th round pick. So maybe maybe late day 2, early day 3. Those connections certainly help. So you bring him in, you draft him. He's, like you said, he starts at maybe a swing tackle. He's competing with Caden Wallace as the swing tackle. And eventually, maybe he beats out Caden Wallace and becomes, the long-term right guard behind Morgan Moses. So I just think it makes a lot of, and again, as we can plug this again, as we discussed on our mock draft, I think that Ozzie Trapillo makes a lot of sense for the Patriots, because of the need, because of the connection they have, but also he's a good player at a position that they need. And most likely he'll be lining up kind of where they're drafting, when it comes to, day 3 or, early day 3.
Yeah. And what I think is big, I agree with Trapillo. That could be a guy that rises up a lot. More testing he does, more interviews. Yeah. So I think in likelihood, I think it's stock that can make sense too. I think a Drew Kendall actually could be more likely to land with the Pats. Center, seen as athletic enough to become a guard, 6'4", 300, 3-year starter at center, 5 sacks allowed in 3 years of starting at Boston College. And his 4.51 in a shuttle, that shows how he can get out, move in the screen game, how he can get downhill, get to the second level and block. But I just also think the value of the position, where maybe the Patriots are hoping to get a Trapillo 4th round, right? Maybe 3rd or 4th. I can't imagine. I don't think he ends up falling beyond midway through the 5th, honestly, where Drew Kendall can be there, and that satisfies their need. Massive need they have at the center position. As someone, again, that can learn behind a Grant Bradbury, where they're not paying a ton of money. But those are the 2 guys that they're definitely going to eye. The one big one, Donovan Ezeraku. He's going to be a 1st rounder. During the season, he was a late 1st, more of early 2nd round prospect. He was a top 40, basically. But how he's tested, he's ready as a pass rusher. And he's not the most athletic. And because he's not the most athletic, he's so technically sound, has so many counter moves, really strong at the point of attack. Watching him when he was going against Missouri, because he was facing their left tackle, Marcus Bryant, a ton. 5th-year starter, big guy, really good left tackle. And that's also the reason why Armand Membu was a right tackle, because Marcus Bryant was just a downright good left tackle. there were certain times he would get swallowed up against Marcus Bryant when pass rushing, but in the run game, Missouri was double teaming him a lot. He was meeting Marcus Bryant at the line of scrimmage, pushing him back. He's not a guy that at his size will necessarily set the edge, but he's smart when it comes to run defense to funnel the rushing game back inside where there's 10 more defenders, of course. And on that end, too, just wins at the line of scrimmage. And I think that's a guy that can develop into a better run defender. And as he just gets stronger and quicker, then he can become a better pass rusher. It was cool to watch him. And that's why there's 32 teams there, because when you're Boston College and you have a first-round edge rusher, you have a starting level offensive tackle, a starting level interior offensive lineman. That's why 32 teams are going to show up. And that's why the Patriots themselves are going to send 10 scouts as well.
Yeah. And to your point about Ezraku, I mean, just, he wins with his length, right? What is it? 34-inch arms, can kind of get off the line, uses agility when it comes to getting off the line. So I think the question when it comes, from a Patriots specific perspective, it's just how would they land him? They probably can't, right? I mean, there's no way they're taking him at 4, and he's probably not going to be there at 38. No. And if they grab Abdul Carter at 4, then they're not going to take him at 38 anyway, because they need to address another need. So I think it's difficult to imagine that he does, land with the Patriots. I guess maybe the only chance is if they go left tackle, if they go Will Campbell, if they go Armand Membu at 4 after Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter off the board. And then Ezraku is still there at 38. Maybe that's the best chance for them to get him. But I do think, I think it's difficult to imagine him being staying in New England. But with that said, I do think, we could kind of see this. I think Bill O'Brien might even said it. We can kind of see BC turning into a little bit of a feeder program for the Patriots. It's just the connection with O'Brien and Vrabel, two guys just getting, starts at their respective helms of their coaching. You could their connection makes a lot of sense. So maybe it's not the best, it's not an SEC program or anything like that. But when it comes to these guys in the trenches, Ozzie Trapillo and Drew Kendall, like you said, I mean, I think those guys do make sense, and chances are we'll probably see that again in the future as well.
I could just imagine a team like the Lions would take a Donovan Ezraku in the first. The Commanders need help on the pass rush. Even the Eagles, in a way, I can see them going more like Nicky Manwari if that safety falls that far, because he's just a freak. The Browns, I just don't see, and to your point, where that's a top 22, top 30 pick in Donovan Ezraku. Really good player, pro ready from day one, will be a starter, but it's with the needs and where they're picking won't happen. But that is more importantly, the guys that they have in Boston College. It's a good program. Bill O'Brien's leading that program. They're going to get more NFL players. Again, in the NIL era, they're going to get more NFL level guys. And Bill O'Brien was asked about it, and he certainly said, he's like, I use my NFL experience to help bring in recruits all the time. Here was Bill O'Brien himself talking about Donovan Ezraku as well.
Yeah, look, Donovan, first of all, is just a very bright guy, great teammate, unanimous captain. The whole team voted for him to be the captain of the team, one of the captains of the team. He's got an excellent takeoff at the end of the line of scrimmage. He really did a great job of developing his pass rush skills this past year. Actually, Coach Marone, O-line coach of the Patriots now, he worked a lot with Donovan this past year, on a week-to-week basis for a pass rush plan in the games. And Donovan really, did a great job of putting that plan into action. And he just did an unbelievable job. He never quit, never gave up. He actually probably, I would say, he actually won us a couple games single-handedly by, sacking the quarterback and creating turnovers and things. So can't say enough great things about Donovan.
Donovan Ezraku, we've had him on the show. Awesome dude to interview. And that's where he did himself all the favors with the tape. Really good pass rusher. What I did like that he pointed out was with Doug Marrone being with BC last season, Doug Marrone as the offensive line coach helped Donovan Ezraku develop as a pass rusher too, was working with him of, hey, this is what you can do. This will help you at the next level. That's encouraging to hear that Doug Marrone is doing that. And again, the same thing where this pass rush, especially on the edge, has to get better for the Patriots. It's not just you have Terrell Williams coaching that defense as a DC. You have Doug Marrone coaching that offensive line and helping develop a guy like a Keon White that needs that poured into him, and whoever they end up drafting on the edge.
Yeah, I thought, and I was going to mention the same point. I thought that was pretty interesting to hear. I didn't hear it just now, but Yeah, it says a lot about kind of Doug Marone's role both last year, but as well, probably going forward with the Patriots. And I'm sure that was something that Bill O'Brien told Mike Vrabel, before Vrabel hired Doug Marone is, he worked with these guys, and just to have that sort of kind of, the offensive minded guy helping out a defender, and that was something that Vrabel did himself in Cleveland last year. So I think that that's definitely helpful for the Patriots.
Yeah, that's what I think is huge, and it just made sense too. Being at that pro day, Doug Marone going around talking to everyone, Mike Vrabel, and then you do remember like his son played at BC, so there's a connect too. Mm-hmm. But it was you're out there, and also Cam Horsley. I mean, massive defensive tackle, really good run defender, strong. Again, same type of guy, needs to work on his pass rush ability. Over relies on the bull rush. You get him with the Terrell Davis, you get him around to Doug Marone, who already knows him. That's how you can develop, and that's a guy later in the draft. They do have a need at defensive tackle too, especially to build out the depth. Yeah. A Cam Horsley, another guy at a Boston College that they can target, and it just shows when you get real coaches in there, like Doug Marone, how experienced he is. How experienced Mike Vrabel is, Terrell Davis, and you get him from programs being coached by like a Bill O'Brien, how much that helps everything out with the prospects coming out.
Yeah, and to your point about Horsley, I was just looking up his kind of draft profile, and it was Chad Reuter who described him as getting off with good initial violence. And it just made me think, initial violence, that screams Terrell Williams and Mike Vrabel to me. It was, one of the things that Williams, I think, said, what was it, last year when he was with the Lions? He said he wants his players to play with violence. So, maybe we see that as kind of a day 3 pairing, I guess, and something that makes sense for both of them.
Yeah, and that's a guy that can line up 1 tech, 3 tech, outside the guards, outside shoulder. So he'd be good. He'd be good in a 4-3 defense. Like Cam Horsley makes a ton of sense in a 4-3 defense, and that's what Terrell Davis is going to be running 4-2-5. But you get what I'm saying. 4 down defensive lineman. He's Sean McGuire. I'm George Balekji. This was Boston has ended the chat. Sean, fun one, man.
Yeah, it was good to be with you, George. Go Big East.
I'm George. Yeah, Big East guys right here. This is Boston has ended the chat. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one, everyone.